Welcome back to TGR News, guys. You know, big talk on the situation, a lot of good information, especially when getting the message out there seems so hard to talk about, especially talking about pedophilia, uh, big time issues there, country trying to normalize it. So here we are thinking about, religious battles in our country, which is a typical stereo case of issues, which would be, a normalcy of a lot of different issues for a lot of different people. Not saying that we don't understand a lot of different problems that come from, Islamic issues, and it is a typical case that a lot of people don't understand the American value, the American moral, understanding that, the underground of our country, the very dark side that literally goes out there and kidnaps and beats women into submission, even children, to submit them into sex slavery or child slavery. So, when we sit here and think about these issues, it doesn't just deal with Islamic problems, it deals with, criminalistic issues. A lot of people who have deterrent mind frames that do not, stabilize with the American value or American moral with families. I think that's kind of where we lose ourselves, though. When we open our borders, we open our doors to new immigrants, to new opportunists, to dreamers, as they say. We have to realize that, yeah, of course, our country is an open door to a lot of people for opportunity. But, we also have to recognize the facts that, these people are coming over here to become a part of this country and not to be a part of their country. Although they bring a cultural relations to this country. We cannot forget about our morals, our values, our stabilization with families and civic understandings with, children. It is understanding that we know that a lot of these problems in our country, still has, related issues over simple, cultural problems that deal with religious purposes. I like to say that all religions should be respected. Of course, it should be having that, our country is based on, a quantity of alliance and respective, workmanship towards, a future towards, a better prosperity and a better world, so that, dealing with issues in this world, just like terrorism or even, dictators out there that are harming and threatening other countries. It is a fact that our country has suffered major issues dealing with normalizing pedophilia. And, as you would hear from anyone else, basically what these people have started doing is getting caught and they're trying to normalize it. And it is just the factor that they know that what they're doing is giving in and giving way to the very deteriorating problems in which this nation has so gladly, stood upon defending our future for, just to know that our kids grow up very strong, very, brave, and very much, with the future of who they want to be, and not just forced into a situation where they have to raise kids, where they have to be, a family, and they have to be, a parent. But not at the same time understanding that our nation's also stood for the opportunity to keep kids and women free from the hands of sex slavers. I mean, the idea behind all these issues could be built by a mentality. A mentality in which is based off religion, of course. We know that, with a mental disorder, a lot of people can go around talking about, how they're, a part of the bad part of the Bible, or they're supporters of Muhammad or Islam. and understanding the very tactics of those understandings is something that we still have that opportunity to know. That even with people's mental disorders or their sexual disorders that really do devour the issues with us fighting back, comes down to a very, hard line again. We're seeking that our nation, that has, built family after family and sought to our very nation to raise our kids very strongly, to the age of 18 at least, or 17. The state of Texas, you become a legal adult at the age of 17, and that right there has been, the reality point for a lot of people right there is that ages do differ in certain states. But we can't overlook the facts that, the issue doesn't exist, and the reality of the issue, about 12, 13-year-old girls being kidnapped, beaten into submission, traded, sold for sex. Women, it has been an ongoing issue in this country, one that yet a lot of people try to relate to get that information out there, but so oppressed and very much silenced in so many different ways because, yet again, people's mind frames are set to a direction. And this is something that we all know that has been a typical stereo case, that we're all out here playing, therapists, we're all out here playing, doctor with this situation. We're people out here, basically taking what we knew from old doctors, old therapists and scientists and stuff like that, all these informations, all these things we've ever talked about in our life, dealing with, great people who left this nation over serious situations where the radical left or the Democratic Party has been dumbing themselves down towards the facts, and the truths, all in a line with their ability to go out there and cry out for women's rights, but yet support a dictation over women's lives. We have fought a battle very much so in this country. We have fought very violently amongst each other, very honorably. The facts that our country has, troubled our battles, to really focus on the facts that, a lot of people right now are out there on Twitter, out there on Facebook, or just sending emails to each other, which is even the most hidden operation ever going on in the United States of America right now is emails or Bluetooth. So these little things right here are just the major silent area that is really not talked about, not been exposed yet, but something that is still going on. We know it is. That, 12 to 13-year-old girls, maybe even 10-year-old girls or boys, are being sold through emails or Bluetooth trades. It is a factor that, the reality with our country, with these senators or governors or even politicians, any form of government, held office are being, exposed in this situation for pedophilia or sex trading or even support of any of these forms is a reality still. Even on Twitter, while people are trying to still find ways to normalize pedophilia. And the point is yet there is a lot of stuff that backs that issue. We thought about the logic. The logic would have to be, basic, and just to get to a basic area would be Islam. And Islam, again, like I said, is obviously, an area in where, they believe in early marriage and early pregnancies. The reality of the situation is very basic, though. Look, we're facing a nation that has a warfare going on for our children right now, a battle, submitting ourselves to fighting the normalization of, pedophilia, the very factors that, that separates us from other nations, other countries. No matter what we try to sit here and try to explain our main point and view of understanding the truth and the facts is that our nation is a family nation. Our nation is a dream nation. Our nation is a future nation for people who want to raise families, not to have sex with young girls and hold an unfamilistic lifestyle that is more sexual dementic and more targeting to the very future of kids' ability to have choice and reason and have understanding, and yet not directed towards a very area where they don't have that opportunity, forced into a position where they don't have that ability to have that choice. It is a sad part of our country that we know that we've still been out against, and yet it has become mainstream for a lot of democratic leftist liberals to start producing on pedophilia as normalization. And how does people even recognize that situation as a fair subject? Do they even understand what they're choosing for their kids? I mean, that is something that I sit here and I think about when it comes to children, kids, our women in the future. The basic understanding is that even by them normalizing pedophilia, they are normalizing sex slavery. They are normalizing women being sold. The factors of the radical left, liberal Democratic Party supporting sex chains in different areas and supporting children sex trafficking is a fact that it is an eye-opener for a lot of people who want their freedoms, who want their feminist rights respected. To support certain areas is still hard to sit here and tell people that not to be offensive towards Islam, not to be hateful, not to be destructive towards the very factors of the culture of a Muslim, but to understand that our country's morals and values are way much more important than sitting here allowing ancient issues or even religious problems to be the factors of control for women and children in our country that would only open the doors to major issues, major problems actually, directing, that most people, who would, find a way to legalize pedophilia or even normalize it, would find a factor to normalize sex slavery or slave itself. I mean, here we are arguing amongst each other without 2 cents of thought about the situation when it comes to, back in the days of slavery and African Americans. But here we go, turning down another road where we're finding ourselves, facing the facts that, what they're trying to fight for, what they're trying to build up against us, and yet targeting our families, targeting our children. And a lot of it, is like I said, it is, mental issues. It is a mental disorder of a problem that, people out there, are not basing themselves truly with Islamic religious purposes. They are just using the cultural background for the relation, for what they want. What we got to do is really find that opportunity. I mean, we really do got to recognize the situation, thinking about the steps of how kids are being mentally, destroyed right now in our country, mentally influenced, how easy it is to influence kids, how easy it is to raise children into a lifestyle. We cannot keep account of the numbers of missing children on walls across this country, on different stores, but the fact is that there is a big manipulative issue there. Children are being raised right now, never caught, never released from the hands of their captives. And the captives are teaching these children, and they're raising these children. And of age, they will find a legal way to make these children come about. And they will have the power to vote, they will have the power to speak, they will have the power to, make more issues more conclusive for us. And this is something that we have to recognize. This is the truth. And it happens every day in our country. From a woman to a child to a boy, even to a man. Beaten into submission, kidnapped, and sent into slavery. Sex, slavery, or not. The point is what uses they become to the captive. Is the point that, we see into the future of these issues. We see into the facts of what they're working on. We see into the reality of them trying to normalize pedophilia. And recognizing that means they're only going to try to normalize slavery again into our country. And that would be mostly directed towards women in the first place. And that's the truth. Women sold off at 12 to 13 years of age. Maybe even up to 14, 15, who knows, even older. But the point is that, the battle for our country became a typical reality for us that we cannot ignore. That, it is hard to sit here and say that when these people start talking the way they do, and they start saying things off in left field, and they start supporting things that is, opposite of what they say they stand for. They start acting out, in directions opposite of what they do, or they say they will do. It is the facts that, there are people out there, children, being raised into our country, being raised to literally live these lifestyles, to speak this way, knowing how fundamentally they are speaking, but yet knowing how unfundamentally they are living. And it is a reality that we still have to know that it does exist. The fight against normalizing pedophilia is something that we need to keep up. We do not need to let pedophiles have power into this country. We need our children to be raised with free and brave standards, and especially of ages, of good conception. And it is a fact that our country should not have, the battle again over slavery. We do have to find our way in this country. We do have to find that we have to face, faces upon, the support of certain issues. And, even through the secrets of people's houses where their doors are closed, where they raise their children, homeschool them, or however they may do it, we know that there is a generation being bred out there. Regardless if they're kidnapped or not, if they're just, sexually abused children who do not understand the topic of these issues, who do not understand the logic or the moral value of what we speak about when their fathers sexually abuse them, women, our children, men, boys. Facts that our country, has a bunch of bad people out there, and they're raising children from other people, and it's because they're domestic issues. Especially when you start realizing the issues with transgenderism, and you find the factors that even that has a sexual displicacy to it. It is a factor that, even I myself, who believes in that, people turn their kids into boys or girls on purpose, for their own sexual ambitions, their own domestic problems. The fact is that they raise them and they help raise these kids to raise other people into that situation of awareness of their problems, but not backlining the reality of what's really there, because in all we're still facing that kid has been, a project of education to influence and misguide a nation into a reality where it has only gotten, a lot more darker and deeper. Even with the reality of dealing with, the radical left calling all white males neo-Nazis or racists or whatever they want to say. The point is that, even that conflicts with their idealism for the white female who wants to become a white male in their transgender disorder. So we have to face the facts that, you know, our country has an educational system going on. There's a generation being brought up. And pedophilia, you know, is a battle against its normalization. The fact is that we are standing here in our nation for, you know, family values, futuristic dreamers, for legal ways, you know, but not just to come over here and break our laws, not just come over here and change the very fabric and foundations of what this country is about. It is the point that we are still trying to defend also the facts that our nation, you know, is still supporting the feminists. But we're not supporting the feminists, you know, to be under oppression as the left has. You know, the oppressionists, you know, will enslave the feminists. It sounds like a joke now. It sounds like a crazy little idea that totally could just be off the wall, loony and do crazy things to get a lot of attention. But the factors are is that, you know, it's not going to draw out the issues out of the woodworks. It's not going to draw the issues out of the areas and where people are just all of a sudden thinking that it's normal and they're just going to start walking down the street with children in their hands or with women with chains actually trying to sell them on the streets. It's the point that they feel a normalization where they can work in these areas, and it's going to become a difficult problem for us. You know, it's going to become a difficult problem because that's what's strengthening the left. That is what's supporting the left in these, you know, areas, and in these very destructive areas, you know, that would threaten the very freedoms and very, you know, values and morals of our country. So I thought I'd get on here and, you know, just really relate to this situation that, you know, that it's out there. It's happening. Every day, you know, I believe it. Every day. There's at least one or two kids kidnapped, beaten into submission, women. I mean, it just, there's no way of changing that factor. And just knowing that these people are raising these kids, or even in the solitudes of homes, of sexual abused children, they are being manipulated. They are being turned into robots, turned into, you know, zombies of a normalization of pedophilia. And we have to recognize that sooner or later the faces we're staring at are the very faces that have been raised, are kidnapped, are sexually abused, and are set forth in their mentality, set forth in their ways of thinking. It's hard to say, to sit here and, you know, not disagree with this belief, because I believe it exists. I believe it's there. I know for a fact that women and children are kidnapped, beaten into submission. It's not been a mythological issue. It's not been some mysterious thing that over 100,000 kids and women and children each year are kidnapped and, you know, beaten into submission, into sex slavery, child sex slavery. You know, it's a fact that it does exist. And hopefully that makes some sense to y'all. Hopefully this little thinking, you know, brings out that situation about fighting this normalization against pedophilia, because it is something that needs to be recognized, needs awareness about it. So we have to, you know, speak out on this situation. So other than that, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. Hopefully that made some sense. And other than that, adios.